The Caves Beach development will be Ramada's 6th hotel development in Australia. The hotel group based in Hong Kong is best known for its Renaissance hotels, which offer the highest standard of international accommodation. The Caves Beach project will be Australia's 2nd Renaissance project. The other is in Sydney. Although Ramada's investment in the $800 million project has not been disclosed, it is known it's substantial. The company will operate a 5-star hotel planned for this block of land and a 3.5-star facility by the lake. Head of Gordon Pacific, Noel Gordon, believes work could begin sometime next year. It's hoped the Oceanside Hotel and Golf Course will be completed by the end of 1992 and the entire resort, including 2,000 residential blocks, up and running by the turn of the century. Mr Gordon has no doubt it will attract tens of thousands of tourists. Although originally aimed at the Sydney market, Ramada's involvement has altered that.
But obviously, with the sort of facilities we're now offering with Ramada being involved and the site we've got, which is regarded as being world class, and during their visit to the site at the weekend, the Ramada people say that this particular location will compare with any other site in the world. So we think that the base will be local, but of course added to that will be the international market as well.
One man who knows the industry is chairman of the Tourism Task Force, John Brown. He believes the Gordon Pacific Ramada Resort will offer what domestic and international travellers want.
There wouldn't be another developed country in the world that would have a site like this, with its physical beauty, the advantages of being near Sydney, with all the opportunities of the lakefront and the ocean front, that wouldn't be developed. So we're very lucky. We're resort rich in Australia.
This is the rusty pipe that penetrated Justin's eye on Sunday. His face took the full weight of the fall. Today, the makeshift pathway was closed off and the concrete and metal removed. The council has begun to investigate how and why the park became such a safety hazard, but so far has few answers.
And we're investigating the circumstances surrounding this unfortunate incident, and really until those investigations are completed, we can't really provide a comment on it.
It's still not clear how the path came to be there in the first place. Community Facilities Manager Gary Wilson is yet to check the records.
Until we've investigated the matter, we really can't provide any comment. It certainly doesn't appear as though it is in fact a council path. It's on council land. The bank that is behind us here in fact is the bank holding up the Charlestown Oval, and that is in fact council property.
How long has the path been in use for?
I don't know.
The park has now been freshly mowed and tidied, but a closer look reveals broken glass, protruding bolts and jagged pipes, all with the potential to injure. Alison Peters for NBN News.
It was real sardine stuff as the large field began the slow climb out of the self-proclaimed banana republic of Coffs Harbour, but some early tyre troubles broke up the field. Breakaways were commonplace as the riders headed south, but searing conditions and a blustery wind made it difficult to maintain a lead. Time after time, the tearaways were hauled in by the pack, while at the other end of the field, Wollongong rider Danny Hennessy was knocked unconscious for a full minute after colliding with a parked car. He showed unbelievable courage to continue with a painful right hand, but he was destined to finish 50 minutes behind the leaders. 163 kilometres after they began, the leading group was a tightly packed mass of thrashing legs, and the sprint finish was a thriller. Overnight leader Vladimir Golusko finished 4th and retained the overall advantage, while 3 Australians remain in the top 15 and well in contention. Jimmy Barnes has surrendered to the wishes of his thousands of Hunter fans. They petitioned the singer to reverse his decision to leave Newcastle out of his tour itinerary, and faced with a response like this, he couldn't say no.
Well, the response from Newcastle was absolutely amazing. Within 4.5 weeks, we had 8,000 signatures. And literally the Barnes management had to say yes, because the outcry would have been nothing short of huge.
Now it's the concert itself that should be huge. Barnes will take to the stage at the Newcastle Showground on the 1st of December with the support of 2 international acts.
Concrete Blonde have got a top 10 hit now with Joey. And the Stray Cats, the original Stray Cats, Rockabilly, just finished a 42-date tour of America. So it's going to be a very, very hot lineup, the hottest lineup this year next to the Earthquake Relief Concert.
The Barnes controversy has highlighted the need for a top-class venue in the Hunter.
There's a lot of shows that simply can't justify coming in. At the end of the day, the dollars have got to be there, and if you don't have a capacity to gather enough money together, then the show bypasses Newcastle.
Promoters hope the soon-to-be-built Newcastle Entertainment Centre will provide a solution to the problem.
Professor Alan Husband and his research team have captured world attention with their work in psychoimmunology, a science which pairs the body's immune response with psychological conditioning. They believe the power of suggestion could be the key to controlling allergic responses like hay fever. Their work with rats has now spread to human subjects. Volunteers are given a strange-tasting drink immediately before exposure to an allergen like pollen or a dust mite. The research shows people will subsequently suffer hay fever symptoms whenever they're given the drink, even in the absence of the irritant. It takes a confirmed hay fever sufferer to demonstrate the theory. A swig of the peculiar drink and exposure to a dust mite, and the mind should be fooled into altering the body's immune reaction. Now, according to the university's research, I should experience similar symptoms in about 5 days' time if I drink this rather unusual potion once again. It's effectively the drink which triggers the hay fever response, not the allergen.
What we've shown now is that we have control over the allergic reaction because we can induce an allergic attack through the power of suggestion. What we now need to show is that we can reverse that situation by putting into the protocol drugs which we know switch off allergies and making that part of the conditioning model.
Professor Husband says the theory also has implications for organ transplants. The same principles could be used to reduce the need for high levels of drugs by fooling the mind to accept the new organ.
And these drugs are very toxic, so that if we can reduce the quantity of drug, then that's going to give the physician a much easier time in managing graft rejection.
The key to this research is that the power of suggestion can override the body's immune reaction. Encouraging news to those blighted with recurrent allergies.
It was a leisurely pace as they strode out of Port Macquarie bound for Foster, and a day of tough hills but pleasant scenery. Not long into the day's activities, and a group of 7 riders broke away from the main bunch in a bold move so early in the stage. No panic in the main bunch, however, as they quietly went about the business of hauling in the renegades and settling back into a smooth pattern. The stretch of Pacific Highway between Port Macquarie and Taree is hilly and winding, and a couple of riders had to contend with a bit more than the state of the road and its characteristics. After dealing with the semi-trailer, a tranquil outing through the countryside, cheered on by excited schoolchildren who gave the riders plenty of encouragement. However, for others, it was just all part of another day in the fields. Race leader Vladimir Golusko was doing it easy in the main bunch, with his main rivals well in his sights, and his teammate Alexander Schaefer was at the ready to help him through any challenge. So dominant was the Soviet cyclist today that as he led the competitors over the Manning River at Taree, he kept piling on the points, and at the end of the day finished well ahead of his arch rival, the big new Spruch, in the sprint section, grabbing 33 points to Spruch's 17. 80 kilometres from Foster, a group of 17 riders, including Golusko, broke away, and from there on they were never headed. The power of the breakaway surprised the others in the main body as they tailed off into the distance as the 17 rode into Foster. Again, another fabulous crowd was on hand to welcome the weary warriors. At the finish of the 8th stage, it was Thomas Leash who snatched a win from the hard-charging Golusko a further 5 seconds back.
and there's a great ride. Thomas Lisa, second place to Golusko.
But the Soviet Vladimir Golusko, with a brilliant display all day long, retained the yellow jersey and now leads Spruce by 30 seconds, with David Spencer of England in third spot another 13 seconds back. Tomorrow's stage is from Foster to Newcastle, with a finish at Queen's Wharf around 12:30 p.m.
The owner and an employee of the Ski-On Sound and Stage Hire business in Maitland Road, Islington, were returning to their warehouse when they noticed one man lurking in the rear of the building and outside security lighting switched off. On entering the premises, they confronted another intruder hiding behind equipment on a mezzanine deck. He was held at bay with a microphone stand while police were called. It's believed the intruders had kicked out a roof panel and dropped to the warehouse floor. No goods had been disturbed. Mayfield detectives detained one man for questioning.
It is easy to see Mem Fox's magic. Early years in drama school, a lifetime's experience as a teacher and a genuine love of children. It's a winning formula that made her first book, Possum Magic, a household name, quickly becoming Australia's best-selling publication. Today she brought alive a selection of her 19 children's books.
Every night, as she curled up under the stars, Koala remembered the times when her mother had looked at her and said, "Koala, I do love you." And she longed for her to say it again.
I read a book this morning to 1,000 children called Koala Loo, and they were very quiet during it. It's only 419 words, but it took me 2 years to write those 419 words to get them right. And I think the drama school experience, knowing the rhythm of prose and just how it should sound, is very soothing for kids. So I think that helped me a lot.
And it's a love of reading that will guarantee a child's success in life, says Mem Fox, who tomorrow will speak to hundreds of teachers at a literacy conference at Newcastle University.
I think emotion is tremendously important. You have to laugh, or cry, or shiver, or get scared, or want to vomit, or something has to happen in the book. Something. If you read a book and feel nothing, what's the point of reading?
But her newest book, already a sellout, isn't one for her youngest fans. Her autobiography is very much for their mums and dads.
Slam bam, thank you ma'am. Right from the starters, Peter Garrett went wall riding. Big Bob Brewer in a brand new car was right on the pace early, but it was Ron Pine who grabbed the first points of the night in the Tooheys Stars sprint. Drama in the next point-scoring races, the two favourites, John and Ron Pine, blew tyres, leaving the way open for comeback king Don McEwen to fight out the finish with Bob Brewer. But it was Brewer in his brand new car that stole the show, and he now is only trailing Don McEwen by 1 point in the overall series. For most Aussies, beach volleyball was a hit in those memorable surfing movies with Frankie Avalon way back in the 60s. But now it's the real thing right here in the land of Oz. In 1987, American Dan Kiefer began the professional beach volleyball tour, and last year it was a smash all around the country. In conjunction with the Newcastle City Council, 2 permanent courts are now set up on Newcastle Beach, and the first pro tournament will be held at the beach during late December. Today, many curious onlookers took in the form of the top players in the land. Waratah's Paul Mounter in the grey top joined with Dave Powder in an exhibition match against the current number 1 Paul Calder and 13th ranked Stuart Jemison. All players turned in a great match for the enthusiastic crowd, with many keen to have a crack themselves. It's a game anyone can play, and the women on the tour show they are fine exponents of the game also. Inland at Spears Point, the Macquarie Shores Athletics Club held their 10th anniversary carnival in conditions that weren't conducive to quick times. Hunter Academy of Sport athletes Nathan Brown and Paul Matthews dominated the under-20 800 metre final, with Brown's winning time 2 minutes 0.06 seconds. Another HAS runner, Narelle Parr, blitzed her rivals to easily win the combined age 800 metres for women. The main race of the day was the pro sprint, and it was a family affair. Ian Glenn and Brad Schrader lined up against Damien Veach in the black, Amanda Cooper in the yellow and Sharon Gieselhardt in green. Run on handicap, it was a fabulous finish as Brad Schrader in the white just got up to beat brother Ian in red, with Musselbrook's Damien Veach third. Amanda and Sharon were right there at the finish too. The presentation was made by Tim Jackson, Australia's #1 sprinter, and besides the trophy, the winner picked up a cheque for $250.
Richard Face believes Lake Macquarie Council should erect signs in Charlestown Mall which prohibit the consumption of alcohol.
As a consequence of the changing role of Charlestown, people are going to the theatre, they're going to restaurants, they're moving about there of an evening, and on at least several nights of the week, you have a premises nearby where people can go in and purchase liquor, then they come out into the mall and start drinking it.
The matter has been to Council twice. Originally, Council said the signs would detract from the aesthetics of the mall. Now it says that under the Public Offences Act, it does not have the power to enforce such a regulation.
I can't understand what Richard Face is on about or why he's trying to beat this up. Richard, as I understand, is an ex-policeman. He would know that Council has no power to stop people from drinking in a public place, that the police have that power if the people are offensive.
Council can stop people from drinking alcohol on public reserves, an idea which has been adopted by Port Stephens Council. However, it cannot prohibit alcohol consumption in public streets, and the mall is in this category. Council says that it is not aware of any alcohol-related problems in the mall, but says if there is, it is the job of the police to stop it. In a letter to Council, however, Inspector McSporran of Charlestown Police states that there is legislation for which persons can be arrested and charged under the Summary Offences Act for offensive or disorderly behaviour, but frequently the complaints that are received do not constitute offences of this nature.
Have a good look at this, Devil. You turn around, you want to hold on. Okay.
He isn't a head of state, but as the representative of 28 million black Africans, Nelson Mandela was welcomed to Parliament House this morning as a world leader. It was then down to business for the African National Congress leader, meeting first with Mr Hawke in his prime ministerial suite.
Thanking you and the Australian people for the tremendous support they have given us.
Mr Mandela is also here to urge Mr Hawke and his cabinet that sanctions against South Africa be maintained until apartheid is completely abolished.
Brigades from across Brisbane rushed to the centre after flames were noticed in a fish and chip shop just before 7 last night. With the blaze spreading, firemen had to smash their way in. Others tried every vantage point to get closer to the base of the fire, but had to retreat minutes later when the awning was lost. 8 shops in the 70-year-old complex were gutted, leaving the owners with a damage bill close to $1 million. This morning, police and fire brigade scientific officers began sifting through the rubble, looking for a cause, and they haven't ruled out arson.
A family lives inside this Mayfield house, but it's a far cry from the typical safe and secure family environment. Its 4 members are kids, street kids, drawn together by hardship and the fight to build a future from a forgettable past. If there's to be a father figure for this little family, it would have to be 20-year-old Philip, bones to his friends. Holding down a job with the council, he's the provider, his wage helping the 4 secure a bond on their home. None of the remaining 3 have a job. Between them, 19-year-old David, 18-year-old Diane and 16-year-old Sandy contribute through their fortnightly dole checks.
So I live from check to check at the moment. My check normally goes, so first day I get it, like paying me rent and that.
All 4 admit, despite their young years, they've experienced the lows of life. They've squatted in Newcastle's derelict buildings, they've dabbled in drugs and alcohol, and all after leaving or being thrown out of home at a time when most young people are still enjoying the carefree existence of childhood, an event that has left many bitter memories.
If you had a chance when you look back in your life, what would you change about it?
I divorced my parents, starters. There's a few times I felt like killing myself, like nowhere to go, nothing to do, no friends around at times.
Perhaps that is why this little family is clinging so tenaciously to the slim hold it now has on stability. But it's a stability that may soon be shattered. They've been served an eviction notice from their present house, and despite several attempts have so far failed to find a new home. But so determined are they to stay together that they've declared they'll go back on the streets again if they have to. But this time, Diane sadly predicts they'll have plenty of company.
You always see different faces, different kids, they're getting younger, and they're just everywhere.